As you may have guessed it, this is the Next 6 Minutes channel, and you are welcomed here to the campfire again to hear another one of my stories. So I'm glad you settled on clicking on my channel and having a nice good old time with me here the next 6 minutes, and we'll get right on to it. Well, I didn't have a concrete idea as to what I was going to talk about, but it occurred to me last night when I was taking a shower after another hard day of being out in the sun doing things in anticipation for my day off, which is what I'm utilizing right now. I came to the conclusion that I should talk about pyramids. Yes, pyramids. Specifically, the Pyramid of the Sun that is located just outside of Mexico City. It is an edifice that I visited 3 times in the past. Once in 1998, once in 1992, and I believe the other time was 1994. And I haven't been back since. But I did want to talk about these wonderful pyramids. I'm going to have a link in the description to a friend of mine's video. She went to Greece and visited a lot of the ancient sites there. It's a fascinating bit of material, so go ahead and check out that content at your leisure. But until you do, please continue to join me and listen to this tale that I have to tell about the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico. So it was 1988 was the first time that I went to go see it, and this was back when they let you go most of the way up the side of this thing. It has a staircase that allows you to go most of the way up before it becomes sort of innavigable, for lack of a better term. Unnavigable, I don't know. I don't want to look up in a dictionary what proper word I should be using. Maybe a thesaurus would help me out on that one. But I'm not going to rely on such things right now because we have to keep this party going. So let me just put it this way. Being next to one of these structures is awe-inspiring because when you're next to one of these things, they have their own, it seems like they have their own gravitational pull. And that may actually be scientifically sound. I don't know. It's hard to express. It's just being next to one of these kind of structures. For anybody that's been to the replica of the Parthenon in Tennessee, you'll know just by being in one of these kinds of buildings that is at least done in the style, the way things were constructed back in ancient times. There's just something about them that is so much different than modern complexes. Now, I've been to very large arenas and things like that, and it's not quite the same. Even though some of these structures are larger than the Pyramid of the Sun themselves, they don't have the same kind of thing to them. This intangible thing draws out the awe. And an interesting thing about the Pyramid of the Sun is that the footprint is the exact same size as the largest pyramid in Giza in Egypt, and it's only about maybe 3/4 as tall, but the base is enormous, and being able to climb up the side of this thing is just wow. I'm not even particularly good with heights, but I had to climb up this thing. If heights really aren't your thing, then the Pyramid of the Moon is another structure very close. It's a short walking distance from the Pyramid of the Sun. It's also a structure not anything to scoff at. You can climb up that one too, but it's an experience. It's truly an awe-inspiring experience. Later in 1992, I was able to go to the same site. There was some fencing that they had put up near the top. They wouldn't allow you up there anymore. But I was still able to climb up much of the same distance that I did back in '88, and just to be on the side of this thing and looking out on the landscape, it's just just beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of urban area around there now, and you can't really ignore the development around there, but it's still just this magnificent view. And if you ever have the opportunity to go there, let's just say that the drug gangs aren't being nearly as violent as they usually are, and you're able to go down there without much of a hassle. I definitely recommend it. It's just an amazing experience. The whole complex around there is just amazing. There's the stone structures. There's the areas that you could not use flash photography because there was paintings and things of that nature that were light sensitive. So yeah, they did not let you use flash photography. So the massive size of this whole entire complex, just walking around there and seeing what human hands were capable of building at that period of human history. It's just, whenever you're at one of these kind of sites, even if you're at like a 19th century graveyard or an old chapel, an old stone chapel, just there is something about these places. I wouldn't quite go so far as to say it's otherworldly, but there is just something about these kinds of places that are just, the experience is hard to describe and is very unique. And I urge anyone with even just the slightest sense of adventure, go visit one of these places. A Civil War battlefield, an old church, just any place with a bit of history. In San Antonio, we have a lot of missions, not just the Alamo, but we have a lot of old missions that one can go to, and you get that same kind of feeling of history, just almost like you're stepping into like a footnote of the past, and you're able to just take in just everything that's there. Yeah, it's very hard to describe. It's very hard to describe, and I'm usually fairly good at describing things, but yeah, it's just something that you kind of have to experience for yourself, and I do recommend going to one of these kind of places. It doesn't have to be a Pyramid of the Sun, doesn't have to be a Pyramid of the Moon. Just some place that you can connect to history and get that feeling for yourself. In '94, yeah, there's also, they were doing some kind of archaeological stuff, I think, still there, because the fencing was still up there. I think a lot of it mostly has to do with tourists and their destructive tendencies. I mean, you see a can laying on the ground when you go to a nature trail, you get kind of a sense of what their attitudes are about. Yeah. A lot of, I'm not going to say that that's true for the lion's share of people that go to these sites, but there are certainly a high enough number of people that just kind of, haha, this is a fancy place, I put can here. No, there's enough people out there that really have sort of a frivolous, dismissive sort of attitude about this, that, and the other, and I can understand. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that. So anyhow, thank you for joining me yet again around the campfire, and I hope that your week continues to go well.